Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror film, Avenged. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins where the woman mother hands over a cool car to her beautiful but deaf-mute daughter, nicknamed Beauty. It appears that Beauty is about to drive towards Southwest America, to move over to her long-distance boyfriend. As she is about to leave, Mother seems reluctant to allow her to leave, since she worries about her safety along the way. But Beauty assures her everything will be alright. Then, they happily take a picture together. Later on, we see Beauty driving along the highway. There, she texts her boyfriend that she is coming to meet him. Knowing she is coming, boyfriend smiles, and prepares wine and flowers for her arrival. At Beauty's arrival at the desolated highways of New Mexico, she stops by to take a picture of a cactus. There, she sees a rotting corpse of a wolf dog, where its ribs appear to be broken. She seems to be disturbed by the scene, but she proceeds to drive away. Along the highway, she nearly hits a wounded tribesman. On the other side, she sees a gang in a pickup truck hit a running man. Then, she goes down to help the wounded man, and carries the man to her car. However, the gang arrives to stop her from leaving. The leader of the gang, nicknamed Captain, first confronts her. Besides Captain is another gang member, nicknamed Guy. She is desperate and tries to fight back with a knife, but they just laugh around her. To prove a point, the other member of the gang, nicknamed Cowboy, stabs the wounded tribesman repeatedly. After that, she tries to run away quickly. As she is running, a gang member wingman hands over a gun to Captain. Then, Captain starts to shoot at Beauty. The first and second shots miss, while the third shot finally hits her in the leg. In the next scene, the gang's pickup truck is parked beside a house. There, we also see a grandma staring at nowhere. Inside the cabin around the area, the gang appears to abduct Beauty. They are laughing around as they tie her in the bed. Then, Guy begins to insert the gun down to Beauty's throat. Captain is just watching the scene, while drinking alcohol beside her. Suddenly, a bald man, nicknamed Mr. Bald, arrives and seems to enjoy what he sees. Meanwhile, Cowboy is hesitant about the gang members' actions. He fears that someone will go find Beauty. This makes Guy angry, and he tells Cowboy to leave instead. After that, Guy starts to brutally abuse the helpless Beauty, and uses her to pleasure himself. At this moment, we surely see a disturbing evil act of the gang. In the meantime, boyfriend starts to worry about Beauty. He then checks the photos sent by Beauty, where he figures out her last location. After that, he calls the police in the area. Later that day, Captain goes to the cabin alone. There, he pours alcohol to the wounds of Beauty, making her scream in pain. Then, he continues to abuse her as she cries in despair. He tells her about the so-called glorious accomplishment of his ancestor. It turns out that his ancestor killed tribesmen and the tribe chief. He shows her the skull of the tribe chief, which is kept in the fridge as a spoil of war. And now, as a descendant, he aims to continue the action of his ancestor to exterminate the tribesmen. This explains why the gang killed the tribesmen earlier. In the next scene, the gang is playing cards with each other and laughing around. Then, Wingman insults Cowboy for not wanting to abuse Beauty. This makes him furious, and he threatens to cut Wingman's sausage, making him tremble in fear. After that, he tells Wingman to leave the room. Then, he warns Captain that they need to get rid of Beauty, or else there will be an ugly consequence. But Captain wants to keep her, so he can further abuse her. Later, they play a game of cards to decide whether to keep or get rid of Beauty. As they draw the cards, Beauty forces to slowly remove her hands from the barbed wires, ripping her skin by its sharpness. In her mind, she thinks about her future married life with boyfriend. This gives her determination to escape from there. Shortly after, Cowboy wins the game of cards, which means he can get rid of her. So, he goes to the cabin to kill her, but he finds her trying to escape. She tries her best to run away. Sadly, Cowboy is able to catch her, and stabs her to death. The following day, a Native American, nicknamed Hermit, found Beauty's body in the middle of the desert. He brings Beauty's body to the sacred burial site for the tribesmen. Later on, he performs a ritual that aims to resurrect Beauty. He is dancing and chanting around the body, while a cute dog is just observing peacefully. As he utters a prayer, Beauty suddenly floats and gains consciousness. She appears now to be with a vengeful spirit. This makes him spray a magic powder on her, making her unconscious. Later on, Beauty awakens in the middle of the night. She then walks towards a seemingly deserted town, and she calls boyfriend. She tells boyfriend to rescue her. Suddenly, a police car arrives at bar, giving hope to her. But the moment she sees the face of the police officer, she suddenly shakes in anger. As it turns out, the police officer is exactly Guy who abused her. Without any choice, she follows Guy inside the bar. Guy is startled as he sees Beauty's vengeful face. As Guy tries to shoot her, she instantly stabs him repeatedly. Then, she slowly pulls the intestine out of him like a rope. After that, she proceeds to stab the billiard guy's eyes with a stick, and throws a chair at the bartender, who tries to shoot her. Later, boyfriend arrives at the front of the bar, where Beauty called him earlier. But he only finds a crime scene. He informs the police officer at the scene that his girlfriend is missing, and she called him on the phone in that location. However, the police officer disregards boyfriend, as he is busy attending the crime scene. He tells boyfriend to come back tomorrow to the police station instead. Then, the gang, together with Guy's brother, arrives at the crime scene. Boyfriend asks them if they see Beauty in the area, and he informs them that she called him. This surprises Cowboy, knowing that he has already killed her. Meanwhile, boyfriend emotionally narrates the anticipated marriage with Beauty to the police officer. The police officer seems to empathize with him. The following day, the gang checks the burial site of Beauty. However, her body is nowhere to be found. They only see a seemingly small portion of her body eaten by maggots. Then, knowing that there is someone who's after them, they drive towards their house to prepare to build a barricade. There, Cowboy speculates that Beauty might not be the killer, since Guy's brutal death can only be done by a skilled hunter. Meanwhile, Guy's brother is alone at his house to get things. As he is about to leave, he sees an arrow pierced into his car's wheels, so he calls the gang to ask for help. As he talks on the phone, he sees Beauty with a hunting bow. He then informs the gang that she is in front of him. At this moment, he immediately runs away, but as she fires her arrow, it pierces through his legs. Now, he is lying on the ground, and she keeps shooting him with arrows as if he is a human pincushion. Later on, in the cabin, Beauty observes herself in the mirror. There, she removes her ring. She observes that her wounds do not heal, and her body is rotting. And also, she sees maggots feasting on his flesh, making her wail in tears. At dawn, Hermit explains to her that at the moment he resurrects her, he also accidentally resurrects the vengeful spirit of the tribe chieftain with her. He tells her that she is with the chieftain's vengeful spirit. As it turns out, the chieftain was betrayed and murdered by white men many years ago. This is why he insisted on coming back with her. Now, chieftain's spirit and Beauty become one. But Hermit warns her that the flesh will not last long, so she needs to do what must be done before it's too late. This explains Beauty's capacity to brutally kill someone, as the tribe chieftain is a skilled hunter. With the chieftain's spirit inside her, she now appears powerful enough to get her revenge on the gang. Meanwhile, the gang finds the dead body of Guy's brother. They confirm that Beauty is after them, so they are planning to kidnap boyfriend and use him as bait to get her. Also, they plan to get powerful guns from Guy's Marine relative to fight her. Later on, boyfriend is crying endlessly in frustration that he cannot find Beauty. She is also emotional as she hears the cries of boyfriend outside the house. Then, he reads a message from her, telling him to forget her. After that, he sees her outside. So he tries to chase her, but the gang arrives to kidnap him. As the gang puts his body in their pickup truck, Beauty shoots an arrow at Mr. Bald's neck. Captain then immediately drives away. But she runs so fast, and is able to ride behind the pickup truck. There, Cowboy fights her. They are exchanging blows, until Cowboy is able to stab her repeatedly. But she seems to be unaffected. So she fiercely fights back. As she is about to stab him, Captain stops the truck, making her fly to the road. Then, he immediately runs over her body. They thought that she was already dead. But she suddenly tries to stand up, which scares the shit out of them. They drive away immediately, as she cries in anguish, looking at boyfriend. Back at their base, the gang is with the kidnapped boyfriend. Then the Marine relative, nicknamed Marine, arrives with his assistant to hand over powerful guns to them. They are on guard, as they anticipate Beauty's arrival to save boyfriend. Meanwhile, at Hermit's camp, Beauty is fixing her broken body. She attaches her hands using steel, and fills up her stomach with sand, while Hermit and his cute dog are watching inside the RV. She sees that her hunting bow is broken. Suddenly, she summons the chieftain spirit, who hands over weapons and a magic necklace to her. After that, she seemingly resurrects again. Back at the gang's base, Marine speculates that there must be a grave sin committed to Beauty, making her do an act of brutal revenge. So Captain casually narrates to him the abuses they have done to Beauty, and how Cowboy killed and buried her in the end. Hearing that, boyfriend screams in despair. Suddenly, Mr. Bald, with an arrow pierced in his neck, tries to go to the hospital for medical care. But Captain won't allow him, and tells him to wait for the veterinarian to arrive tomorrow. Later on, Mr. Bald drives away quickly to go to the hospital. So the gang decides to shoot him instead, since the authorities will know their crimes if ever he goes to the hospital. But as Captain is about to shoot him, Beauty throws a spear to Mr. Bald that pierces through his bald head in an instant. They are surprised as they see her arrival. Immediately, Captain shoots her, but she is quick enough to dodge the bullets. After that, they head inside the base to defend themselves. Meanwhile, Marine experiences a powerful force that makes things move around him. Suddenly, a metallic object hits him in the face, making him fly to the window. There, Beauty awaits him, and stabs him in the neck repeatedly until she cuts off his head. The assistant is trembling in fear as he sees what happens to Marine. Then, he tries to shoot her. But she is so quick, she is able to attack him back. Cowboy tries to help him, but the door closes. So the moment he gets in the room, the assistant is already dead. Then, he hears the other gang member being attacked by Beauty. Later on, he is able to find the other gang member already dead, hanging while its stomach is open. He slowly tries to find Beauty in the dark while singing a nursery song. Suddenly, she is already in front of him. As he tries to shoot her, she instantly throws her hatchet. Then, she drags him using the hatchet. Meanwhile, Captain is able to hear him screaming, so he rushes to help him. However, on his arrival, Cowboy is already being slaughtered by Beauty. Then, she shows herself holding Cowboy's heart, and she takes a bite from it in front of Captain. Outside, the police officer arrives at the scene to arrest him. So he goes outside instead and shoots the police officer. After that, he drives away from there. Inside, Beauty goes to Boyfriend, who is still tied up in a chair. She is behind him, but she hesitates to touch him, since she is ashamed of her horrifying condition. However, Boyfriend still sees her reflection in the mirror. He is disturbed by what just happened to her, so she just decides to leave. At the same time, Captain heads to Hermit, forcing him to tell what he can do to stop the vengeful spirit of Beauty and Chieftain. In response, Hermit instructs him to put peace to Chieftain's spirit by surrendering his remains to the sacred burial site. Later on, Captain brings the skulls of the tribesmen to the burial site. However, Chieftain's skull is nowhere to be found. As he looks back, he sees Beauty holding Chieftain's skull. He grabs a chainsaw in his pickup truck, so he can just straight up fight Beauty instead. In response, Beauty fights back with her hatchet. They are having an intense fight until she is able to stab him in his legs. As he is about to attack her back, she instantly cuts his arms off, but he continues to fight her in anger even with one arm. Then, she stabs him again. As she is about to deliver her final blow to finish him off, he instantly pierces her stomach with the chainsaw. However, she seems to be unaffected, and she proceeds to repeatedly stab him in the neck until she cuts his head off. Later, Boyfriend arrives in the scene where he witnesses a gruesome scene. He sees Captain's dead body separated from its head, and Beauty's lower body lying in the ground. He is emotional and puzzled, as he comes down from his vehicle. Then, as he looks on the other side, he sees Beauty with just her upper body trying to bury herself. Once again, Beauty is ashamed to be seen by Boyfriend in her horrible condition, so she turns her back. But Boyfriend comes to look at her eyes, and caress her hair and face. Her eyes seem to be begging him to end everything now. So, he gets gasoline, and pours it to her. As he is about to set her on fire, she tells him that she loves him through sign language. He then tells her that he loves her too. Later he sets her on fire, letting her spirit leave this world. At dawn, Boyfriend is still staring at Beauty's graveyard, thinking about whether he did the right thing. So he asks Hermit. In the end, Hermit shares his wise words to him, telling him that he did the only thing he could do, that is, to let go of Beauty from this cruel world. He says to him in a hopeful face that Beauty now exists in a better place, in the beautiful place that awaits us all. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.